What's up, guys, and welcome back to the channel. And in today's video we are here with a totally not contentious topic that I'm sure there will be no debate about, and everyone's going to agree with my opinions, and there's going to be lots of civil, nice comments down below, and there's going to be no disagreements. So that's what we're going to be doing in today's video, nice and calm, guys. Please don't call me a casual for not knowing something about the sport in 2007 when I was born. I'm sorry, I actually wasn't watching the sport when I was 0 years old. So that's my bad for that. But I'm going to be trying to keep my knowledge, or show my knowledge as best I can. Again, if I didn't watch the person fight, it's going to be difficult for me to talk about them like I really know what I'm talking about. But what we are doing in today's video, you've probably seen the thumbnail and the title. We are ranking all 10 male double champions, or two division champions I should say, in the UFC. Now we're going to just leave out Nunes because in my opinion it's just a bit harder to grade on a curve when it comes to the women's side of things, and how, okay, yes, you know, you beat Cyborg and that, but it's kind of hard to consider how good, like, in comparison. It's a different thing. It's why you don't have women on in the GOAT list with men. Like, you do the women's GOAT list, it's like Nunes, Shevchenko, Weili, Rose, Joanna, them type, right? And then you do the men's separately, because if you see some fucking bullshit like Joe Rogan, who's like, I don't know, man, you gotta have Nunes in your top 5, gotta have Nunes on your Mount Rushmore. It's just like, bro, shush. So yeah, we're ranking with Islam winning, he made it 11 total, but 10 male two-division champions. Nice round number for us to do in today's video, and we are going to be ranking them not based off like their greatness all time, or not ranking them based off like their full resumes or title resumes or anything. We are solely basing this off of just the win to capture one title, and then the win to capture their second title in another division. Just those two wins, nothing else like, obviously circumstances surrounding how they won the fight will be considered, but we're not going to be considering like, oh, you immediately went on to lose the belt and it was kind of a fluke. We're just going off that win alone, and then the win to win the second title. So yeah, we got 10 fighters to go through. The list is before, like, I'm not going to list them off in order of like where I've got them placed, but in terms of most recent to oldest, Islam Makhachev was most recent, Ilia Topuria. Before that, it was Alex Pereira. Before that, I believe it was Henry Cejudo, Daniel Cormier, Conor McGregor. We also had GSP, BJ Penn, Randy Couture, and John Jones as well. He was recent with the heavyweight title. So yeah, those are 10. I think I just listed off 10, I'm pretty sure. But regardless, and DC as well. I think I said DC. Yeah, let me know in the comments as well. Like and subscribe and shit. We're trying to fucking revive my channel, which has been stuck on the same amount of subs for like a month now. So yeah, go subscribe, because this is creative content. But yeah, Qatar card's coming up. I probably won't stream it because it's going to be at fucking 4 AM and my streaming setup's busted. My USB port in my fucking laptop is like half broken, and I can't close my laptop without the bottom of it like breaking off. So I'm currently working with a bit of a cooked setup right now, but we make things happen. Anyway, let's get underway. Starting at 10, moving down to 1. A lot of these are interchangeable. I'm not set in stone on it. This is not a GOAT list or anything. This is not like, oh my god, this is retarded. Like, it's just personal opinion, so chill. Anyway, let's get underway. So, first up, I'm going to say BJ Penn. Now, he won his 170-pound title first. He was one of the guys who started up and moved down. I think that's mostly because they just didn't have a 55 division, and he was undersized for 470, which I will give him credit for. Matt Hughes, great win. Matt Hughes was on a win streak at the time defending his title, so he did get that win. I just can't really give you any credit for winning a vacant title against Joe Stevenson at lightweight. And the thing is, a lot of that, this is where it got a bit confusing with him and the next guy, which is I'll spoil it. Randy Couture is next. I'll talk about him in a second. But this is where it's like it was a bit goofy, because like I didn't know what the fuck was going on, because like he beat Matt Hughes, but then I checked, and then Matt Hughes won the belt back in that time, but didn't fight him, and I was like, what the fuck happened? I guess he just didn't fight, or he fought other guys, but not for the belt. So, I don't know the situation. Again, this was fucking UFC like 62 or some shit. Like, I was not UFC 46. Like, dude, I wasn't watching the sport when I was negative 3 years old, before I had even been conceived. I was actually not consuming martial arts. So yeah, blame my parents for that one. Should have got me out earlier. Could have got into the sport sooner. But regardless, I don't know what the fuck was going on. Same thing with Randy is like I don't know. I looked it up on the resume. If you look at the UFC website where it shows like the belt next to the fight, if it was for a title, it says Maurice Smith. So I'm running with Maurice Smith as Randy's light heavyweight win. But he's like he beat Tito for the belt like after that without then losing the title. It's really confusing. I don't know what the fuck was going on. But the two old head ones just are not quite as good. Again, if you're just able to kind of drop down and randomly beat Joe Stevenson for the belt, like I don't know if I can rate that too highly. Like maybe I'm mistaken and Joe Stevenson was like the fucking GOAT of the sport at the time. I don't know, Maybe Joe Stevenson was just like that, like he was just on some fucking energy. But I just don't know if I can rate it too much. But BJ and Randy, who I'll talk about now, Randy, it's interchangeable to these two, to be honest. Now, based off the UFC page, it says Maurice Smith. Maurice Smith is not as good of a win as Tito, it's a Chuck for the interim, and then Tito for the undisputed. But this is where I'm confused because I'm like, Maurice Smith wasn't a champion, from what I know. Because if you look at the UFC light heavyweight title lineage, which is what I was doing to try and figure this out, it was really goofy. I didn't know what the fuck it was saying. So it's like obviously Kem Shamrock was the first one to win. Then it says Tito Ortiz. Then it says Randy. This is confusing though, because it's okay. Tito Ortiz defeats Vanderlei to win the vacant title. Ortiz defends against Yuki Kondo, Evan Tanner, some other dude, Vladimir, Ken Shamrock. Right after a period of inactivity, Liddell and Couture was selected to fight for the... Okay, I'm kind of getting it. So that's saying they were selected to fight for the interim title, where he then beat him for the interim and then defeated Ortiz for the undisputed. But then if you go to Randy's resume, it says, like, it indicates that he won the belt off Maurice Smith. So I couldn't tell you what's going on here. UFC needs to sort their shit out. It says Stephen Graham at UFC 13 at the Ultimate Force something, and then his next fight after that was Vitor, which doesn't have a belt symbol next to it, and the next one after that was Maurice Smith at UFC Ultimate Japan by majority decision, where he landed 19 strikes across three 3-minute rounds. So I'll scratch the Maurice Smith thing. And then it says he beat Kevin Randleman, Pedro Hizzo, and all this. But I'm like, was this just before they actually had official belts? Like, was this before they had weight classes and it was just like the tournament champion thing? So if that's the case, then I guess you would say his first official undisputed title win was Tito Ortiz, which if that is what we're counting, that is a obviously better win than fucking Maurice Smith. Because Tito Ortiz at the time was coming off 6 wins in a row, defending his belt a bunch of times. So that is a very good win. And then the heavyweight win, he moved up and at 43 years of age beat Tim Sylvia, who's 7 inches taller than him, 6'8", compared to Randy at 6'1", who was already not even a massive light heavyweight, but moves up and beats Tim Sylvia. Now I can't rate this like super high up and be like, oh my god, yeah, Randy's the best double champion ever, which I know there'd be some old head that'd be like, bro, Randy was like, he was undersized, he was like Fedor, bro, he was just beating up guys way bigger than him, and I'm like, alright, I'm sure he was. They were also fucking plumbers that were fighting every 2 weeks. That's the issue when you look at this shit. It's like he was fighting every fucking like 2 weeks. Like, and that indicates that no one really cared, and it wasn't like extremely serious. So I don't know, like he fought September 99, April 2000, December 2000, February 21, June 21, September 21. Okay, so like that's not crazy active, but like some of the other periods you'll see, and the guys are fighting like every numbered thing. Now I know back then it wasn't like numbered pay-per-views every month. But still, people just were kind of getting in there, getting paid. It was very much just like a cash grab thing, which is why the belt bounced around a lot. When you look at the early heavyweight and light heavyweight lineage, because those were the first 2 weight classes. There's so many I've done like a quiz where it asks you to like name every single UFC champion, but like every single title, like it shows you all the title fights, and then you have to fill in every name. So if you just put DJ, it'll just fill in all of his, but then you got to list all DJ's defenses. You list Jones, and you got to do all Jones. Like, you got to do all that. And then it took me back to, like, these fucking random-ass, bum-ass heavyweights, and I'm like, there's, like, 30 of these guys who won the belt and just passed it around, and I have no clue who any of them are. So, Randy and BJ, similar sort of boat, similar time frame. I just rate Randy's wins slightly more. Like, Tito winning the belt at the time, similar sort of, like, similar amount of defenses as Matt Hughes. Obviously, Matt Hughes much greater all time. But at the time, similar sort of concept of a win, I guess. And then he moved up rather than BJ, who kind of moved down into his natural weight class. Randy moved up at 43 and beat a guy way bigger than him. So I'll give him credit for that. I'll put him slightly ahead. Anyway, let's move on. John Jones. I ain't giving this guy credit, bro. First of all, the heavyweight title is pretty much fraudulent. It was a vacant belt against Garn, who literally was one fight removed from losing the title, or from losing a title fight. Not like he was even a former champion or anything. So you've won a belt in a vacant title against someone who's never won a UFC official undisputed belt. So, like, good job. And then I don't really rate the Shogun win. Again, that was kind of during the period. Jones just rocked up. Jones took the belt and kind of ended the period of just bum light heavyweights just passing it around. Now, I'm sorry, everyone's going to be like, how dare you call Shogun and Rashad and all these guys bums? Like, they were good. None of them are elite fighters. Like, they're just not. Go back and watch the fights. They're not that skillful. Like, I know light heavyweight now is still shit, but, like, Rakic would have been a fucking 5-time champion in that era. He might have got chins, to be fair, but, like, Rakic with a chin would genuinely be putting up fucking Demetrius Johnson numbers, but he would be trick-shotting guys. He would be head-kicking all these fucking undersized 205ers heads off into the fucking stratosphere. Like, I just don't think light heavyweight was that good, and I don't think it's still not good, but I don't think Shogun is that good of a win. And then, like, his actual title resume, like, his better wins come in his resume, like the DC wins and shit, right? But, like, I don't rate the Garn win, I don't rate the Shogun win that much. Like, at least Shogun was a champion, but, like, again, passing the belt around like Bonnie Blue, you know? So I can't rate it too highly, so I am going to put John Jones here. Him and GSP, similar boats, both, like, considered kind of GOAT status, like, GOATs of their division, clearly. I'll talk about GSP now, though. GSP, now, I just rate, the Matt Hughes win is just significantly better than the Shogun win, in my opinion. So even though, yes, the Bisping win is pretty much just irrelevant, but, like, at least Bisping managed to fluke a belt. Like, okay, yeah, skill for skill, Garn's probably better, but, like, Bisping's not awful. He beat Anderson Silva. Was it the best version of Anderson Silva? No. He managed to KO Luke Rockhold before we knew Luke Rockhold had a glass jaw. And, you know, who does that to 43-year-old number 11 ranked Dan Henderson? Who almost gets KO'd by 43-year-old Dan Henderson in probably one of the most egregious title fights of all time, when there was Whitaker and Romero both waiting. And I'm pretty sure Jacques was there as well. There were so many guys, and he's like, nah, bro, let me fight Dan Henderson. But regardless, the Bisping win, whatever. I think I rate the Bisping and the Garn wins in a similar sort of wavelength. But I just rate the Matt Hughes win so much higher, especially because he'd lost to him already. Like, proving that Matt Hughes is not a scrub. Like, proving Matt Hughes is good, and GSP just made the improvements to beat him. And then also the Bisping win was him coming off, like, a while off. Like, would it have been better if we'd seen GSP move up, like, right after the Hendricks fight and fight Anderson before? Was that before he lost to Weidman, or maybe he could have gone up and fought Weidman? Or even Rockhold or something. He just waited so long. It was like 4 years, I'm pretty sure. 3-4 years between those fights. But still, I rate it over Jones. Anyway, let's move on. Next up, I'm going to say Henry Cejudo. Now, Henry Cejudo, if you're looking at actual just the name itself, and not the performance and the result of the fight or anything like that, just the name itself, like, who has the best name here? Who's the highest on the all-time list out of the people who have been beaten? I mean, you can't even say it's not, but, like, he's up there. He's higher than, obviously, because, like, there's still Vulcan shit, but, like, he's above Aldo all time in most people's books, just based off, like, the lack of a losing streak. I'm sorry, Slim. I know Slim's got Aldo as his GOAT. Slim will be in the comments. Type out a paragraph. I'm sure I'll see you there. Just, guys, I'll reply under Slim. Just say, sorry, Slim. Aldo's not the GOAT, bro. When Slim inevitably comments under the video. But regardless, so DJ as a title win, or as a winning the belt, is an insane win on paper. The reason I don't give him a few higher spots is because I just don't think he won. Like, I personally just scored the fight for DJ, so I'm like, okay, well, if we're going on the Lucas Tracy logic of, like, let's just rewrite all of UFC history based off decisions. So we, like, therefore, if he'd not beaten DJ because I thought he shouldn't have beat DJ, he then wouldn't have gone up to bantamweight, wouldn't have beat DJ. So we just take away the resume because, the resume never would have occurred if not for the robbery. But regardless, no, I'm taking the piss. But then the Dillashaw win, we're not counting that or whatever in terms of like this discussion. So it's just the DJ win by very close, marginal, controversial decision, I should say. And then it's the Marlon Moraes vacant title. Again, Moraes was on a heater at that point. He was looking unbeatable, but you didn't win the belt off someone. So I kind of have to put the vacant titles down a little bit for the most part. Especially, again, Marlon Moraes, not a champion, went on to lose a whole bunch. If we're looking just in the moment and ignoring that, I still don't think it's as impressive. And then, when you then add on the fact that Moraes went on to lose like 12 fucking fights in a row, it's a tough look. So, Cejudo, very respectable in terms of the flyweight win. He's just not a size of a bantamweight, which kind of makes it impressive. He kind of wore the storm against Moraes, wore the calf, was getting a lot of damage, started getting in the clinch, wearing him out, beating him up. So impressive performance, but just the resume-wise, I can't put it above a few other guys here. Anyway, let's move on. Next up, Daniel Cormier. Now, obviously, John Jones is above DC all time, right? He's beat him twice, once officially, if we're following the fact that the second fight was he popped for PEDs, which I wouldn't count as a result. As in, I wouldn't count that as a valid fight outcome. So like I scored a no contest, which is what it's officially listed as. But DC's actual title wins are better. He's just winning the two titles are way better, right? Beating Rumble for the belt. Rumble was a scary motherfucker. Rumble was doing all sorts. Gets that win. That was peak Rumble. 205 Rumble was his best form. He was not his best form at fucking 70. Like, 205 Rumble, KO and Glover, doing all that. That was the proper Rumble, right? When he got his weight sorted, fixed all that up. That was peak Rumble. So that's a great win to have. Let me just pull it up. And then the Stipe win up the weight class was very good. That is probably one of the best ones here, in my opinion. Let me see. What kind of streak was Rumble on at the time? Like, it was for a vacant belt because it was when it was after Jones popped, and yeah, that was after Jones popped. But Rumble in the lead up, he was coming off the Gus KO, he was coming off Nogueira KO. He's coming off 3 wins in a row on a decent streak overall though. So it's not like it was like Rumble coming off a loss or something. So the win is valid, the win is there. I respect the win. And then the Stipe win is insane. Like, going up, I know he lost to him, but he lost to him after that. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about just the initial accomplishment. And beating Stipe on the streak he was on was wildly impressive. Like, this was coming off the dominant Ngannou win where he beat an undefeated Ngannou, JDS finish, Overeem finish. Again, this was just 3. He was coming off a streak of 4 round 1 KOs in a row and a title domination against Ngannou. So yeah, JDS, Overeem, Verdum, Arlovsky, all by round 1 KO. 3 of those for the belt. He defended the belt 3 times as well. And stopping him in round 1 was very, very impressive. So, DC, give him credit. Again, the Rumble win, again, vacant title. So, docks a few points. Again, it feels like a pretty common theme here with vacant titles winning the belt, your second belt, against a vacant or just kind of questionable champion. Anyway, though, let's move on. These next 4 are all very close, especially these next 2. I'm going to say Conor McGregor comes in at the 4 spot. The Jose Aldo win is phenomenal. Probably I can't say the best win in UFC history, but like the most maybe emphatic, maybe the most meaningful at the time. Beating Aldo on the crazy streak he was on was just kind of sport stopping at that moment. It was just like, what the fuck? Like, alright, we're really in this timeline. Like, this is what we're dealing with right now. This dude's insane. Alright, and then the move up. Now, I dock him a point. I know I said I'm not like trying to consider other factors and other resume, like just the two fights themselves, but like the fact that he got the title fight against Eddie, which was the initial plan. The initial plan was RDA, but then the fact that he got the one with Eddie after just running a quick fucking duel with Nate Diaz where he lost the first fight and then had a war with him in the second. And then it's like, alright, yeah, back to normal, no problem, just go fight Eddie. Like, it felt a little bit gifted, which is why I'm going to dock him a point or two. Originally, I did have Pereira behind him, and that's a case you can make just based off the strength of the Aldo win. Eddie himself, not the strongest of title wins, like winning a belt, but it was a champion. He'd beaten RDA in the time that Conor fought Nate, I believe. That should be... I'm not mistaken in saying that. Or he won. Yeah. He beat, because it was RDA was the champ. RDA, his foot was a balloon, and then he lost when Conor fought thingy. I forget what card it was at. Let me double check. But yeah, the Eddie win. Eddie is still a good win. Like, people kind of be like, oh, the Eddie win, and act like Eddie was like fucking Bisping. I'm like, Eddie fucking beat like Gaethje. Like, I know that was after that, but like Eddie's got good wins. Like, the RDA win was great. He's got a Gaethje win. Like, Eddie's not a fucking scrub. Like, he's a good fighter. 29-6 is a good record. Like, wins over Gaethje, RDA, Pettis, Gilbert Melendez. Like, not bad fighters, right? But like, he got the title fight off like a 3-fight win streak and beats RDA at UFC. It was on a fight. Oh yeah, they did that fight on a fight night. I was like, what pay-per-view was that? Because in my mind, I was like, 196 was Jones. 196 was Conor Diaz. 197 was some bullshit. 8 was, forget 8. 199 was Bisping. Rockhold. 200 was Nunes, fucking Misha Tate or whatever. So I was like, what card was that on? 202 was Jones Nate 2. Conor Nate 2. Well, I'm saying fucking Jones Nate 2. But regardless, the Eddie win's real good. It's not like real good, but it's solid. Circumstantially not tremendous, with also how Conor got the shot, which is why I'm docking him a few points. But the Aldo win carries him like crazy. Aldo, the streak he was on, and that was not some washed Aldo. This was not like, you can't, like, obviously Volk's not washed and shit, and like Volk losing to Ilia was not washed, but it's not like you can kind of be like, Volk was at the end of his kind of coming into the end of his prime. That was Aldo in his 20s. At the peak of his powers, coming off like the Mendes wins and all that, right? Bunch of good wins, and Conor just killed him immediately. So I'll give Conor his credit for this one. It was a very good win. Anyway, let's move on. Next up, Alex Poitin Pereira. The 185 win over Izzy and the 205 win over Jiri Prohaska. Now, Izzy win, again, can't fault it. This was Izzy defending his belt. This was Izzy going for his 6th title offense. So he beat Izzy at the peak of his powers. Again, how the fight went, not like some domination performance, not like an emphatic stoppage. He TKO'd him late, comeback win, but like you're not like, yeah, he shut down the greatest middleweight of all time, and like he shut down the long reigning champion pillar to post and whooped his ass. This was not like Holloway beating Aldo or Volk beating Holloway even, or one of these type things where it's just like the new champion, or like Usman beating Woodley. Like, this was not the new champion winning the belt just so emphatically, but it was still a good win. It was still an impressive win, and it was Izzy before you could start to even make the case. Like, you can now maybe make the case that he's not fully there, but I still think this is just Izzy's been figured out, and guys are just better now than the days of Andre Muniz being considered a high-level prospect. You're in it. Like, if that's the era, I know it's only like 5 years ago, but like if that's the era you're in, where Andre Muniz is considered like a prospect and threat to the title, your division isn't skilled. Like, your division is not to be taken seriously if Andre Muniz is having people quaking in their boots. Alright? But the Izzy win was great, and the Yuri vacant title win, again, I say vacant, but at least this vacant one was actually a champion. Like, I give him more credit for this than like a BJ winning a vacant, or Jones beating Garn, or something like that. Like, at least you beat I consider this as good as a normal title win, because Yuri wasn't a vacant fight because he lost. It was a vacant fight because he got injured, took a while off. Jamal lost. Jamal got injured. That was the time frame, wasn't it? Yeah, Jamal was champion. Jamal then got injured. In the meantime, he beat Blachowicz, so that's still an impressive win up a weight class too. If that was the win, like Blachowicz champion, that would have been just as good. But yeah, Yuri, who also just hasn't lost to anyone else in the UFC other than him, makes it super, super impressive. So I give Alex the 3 spot. Anyway though, let's move on. Next up, Ilia Topuria. I've got him at 2. Now, the Volkanovski win, highly, highly impressive. Was Volk coming back down? Probably not his best self. Quick turnaround after getting KO'd. So, like, you can look at that and be like, maybe compromised Volk. You can't look at it and say washed Volk, because Volk's gone on to beat Lopez. I really wish we could see Volk fight again. I need to see a few more fights from Volk, because now I'm worried that he might be washed when he comes back, because he's going to be like 37 or some shit. And that's concerning, because he's just taken basically a year off. I guess, would it be through fault of his own? Like, it's hard to tell what the deal is, like, if they had an appetite to get him in there sooner, and he's like, nah. But it kind of felt like, what card could they have put him on? They're not going to turn him around for 317. 318, they specially built around Poirier. They're not going to have another champion on that card. It feels like you could have put him in there in, like, August as the co-main to Hamzat DDP. Like, when the whole Movzar shit happened, it felt like you could have just said fuck, because that was at the point where you knew there wasn't going to be an Australia pay-per-view in September, because that was, like, thinking of the plan was the Australia pay-per-view in September, and then you can do him versus, like, Yair, or it was going to be the Noche fucking pay-per-view in Guadalajara, and they were going to do some fraudulent Yair bullshit. But then that fell apart. So, like, you could have done it in all, like, when Movzar pulled out, I feel like you could have just done Volk versus Murphy as the co-main for the Hamzat card, because then you weren't going to get him on 320, which already had 2. Volk in Abu Dhabi would have felt a bit odd. Could have happened. He wasn't going to get on MSG, and then the rumor, like, the initial thing was end of the year, but then it was like Australia card in February. Don't want to risk losing Jack, because then we just can't run a pay-per-view. So the Volk situation is interesting, but that one was a great win. Still, no one had beaten Volk and has beaten Volk at featherweight other than Ilia Topuria. And then the lightweight win, again, vacant, Charles. Again, I rank this vacant title like better than Jones beating Garn, but not as good as Alex beating Yuri. Because it was a champion, but the circumstances were weird, because it was Charles who was coming off 1 win after the Arman loss, so it felt a bit weird. Like, it was like, okay, but you could have just done Arman Ilia, and that would have at least been the guy who hadn't lost, or who was on a win streak, who deserved it more than Charles, who has a win over Charles. So it felt like a bit sketch in terms of who he actually got as his interim title, or as his vacant title fight, but still, at least it was a champion on the resume. The name is valid. But I've got him at 2. The performance is emphatic, obviously devastating knockouts, so you're not getting doctor points for that. I'm not really looking at, if you won clearly, I'm not particularly fussed on a finish or a decision. My thing when I'll, like, dock you a point or two is, like, if it was a robbery or if it was a really close decision. But, like, if you dominate someone for 5 rounds, I consider that just as good as you knocking them out, in terms of not, like, entertainment value or anything, but just in terms of impressiveness on the resume. A 50-45 is just as, if not more impressive than a round 1 KO where you can be like, oh, but he just caught him. So this is my opinion. Anyway, though, let's move on to the number 1 spot. Number 1 spot, people ain't gonna like it, and there's an argument, like, fucking Jesus, Curtis Blades over here, stuttering, can't talk, it's fucking 2 a.m. Would I be open to an argument that Islam is maybe 2nd or 3rd or even 4th on this? Yes, I think that's kind of top 4, a little bit interchangeable. I think it's like the bottom 2 are interchangeable. Like, I don't think you can put BJ or Randy above anyone else. And then it's like I feel like Jones, GSP, and like Cejudo are kind of interchangeable. And then it's like, DC. I think it's like Jones and GSP are sort of close. And then it's Cejudo and DC are sort of close. And then I think it's like the top 4 are sort of interchangeable with Alex, Conor. Actually, I'd say Cejudo, DC, and Conor are more interchangeable. And then Alex, Ilia, and Islam are sort of interchangeable. But Islam, Makhachev, the Charles win again. Charles on a, I believe, 11 or 12 fight win streak. I think it was 11. and then that was very impressive. Again, it was technically vacant, but it was Charles's belt. Like, it was him coming off the Gaethje defense, which was technically not a defense, because of weight issues and that whole dodgy situation there. But that was a very impressive win. Again, you can't. The reason I have him above Ilia is because, let's look at it. Like, all right, Ilia's win moving up was Charles. That's a Charles who'd lost 2 of his last 4, I believe, or 2 of his last 3 even, maybe, because it was the Islam loss, it was the Dariush, and then it was it was coming off 2 out of his last 4, so he was 2-2 in his last 4 going into that Ilia fight, with the losses to Arman and Islam, wins over Chandler and Dariush, which again, neither have aged particularly well. But it's like, you beat Islam beat the guy who was on the long win streak. You beat the guy after he already lost to that guy and didn't fight the guy moving up. Again, no fault of your own. Islam was moving up himself. But then it was also, and then the welterweight win. Now, you can be like, okay, but Jack doesn't have title defense. It's still JDM, 18 fight win streak, undefeated in the UFC, coming off his best win of his career against Bilal Muhammad. Again, this take will need to simmer for a bit, and we're going to need to see how Jack looks. If Jack goes out and gets, and Leon maxes and loses his next 3 fights, if he goes out there and Brady does him worse than, he fights Brady next, and Brady does him worse than Islam did, subs him, similar to sort of how Leon lost by dominant decision, or fairly dominant decision, to Bilal, and then gets subbed in his next fight. If he gets just ragdolled in the grappling again, and we're like, okay, is it that Islam's grappling super special, or is it just JDM's a wet rag? Which I don't think is the case. I think the win will age well. But if he goes out and gets KO'd by Prates and fucking beaten by Shavkat and loses to I don't know, fucking Usman or some shit, there's potential for this to age badly. But unless JDM just is a complete scrub, if JDM is pretty competent and just remains a top 5 welterweight, showing relatively good defensive grappling in most of his next fights, I'll be able to look at that and be like, Islam 50-45 dominated this guy who kind of gives everyone else trouble. So I rank Islam above just for a bit. If we're looking at let's rank the individual. I could do this on a scale and actually do numbers, but okay, let's rank the initial, the first weight class title win. So that'd be Randy beating, we'll say, Ortiz, BJ beating Matt Hughes, Jones beating Garn, or Jones beating Shogun. This was the first belt they won. Jones beating Shogun, GSP beating Hughes, DC beating Rumble, Cejudo beating DJ, Alex beating Izzy, Conor beating Conor beating Aldo, Ilia beating Volk, and then Islam beating Charles. The best win there is probably... What is the best win there? I'm trying to think. It's actually a tough question. Name-wise, it's probably the Volk one. So I wouldn't... That's a decent case to make. But then moving up, or the second title, I really believe... I think JDM is a better win in terms of the circumstances, upper weight class as a second belt, than Charles for Ilia. I think it's a better win. The Yuri one is debatable. That's close, but I guess circumstantially you could make a case for it. I think it's better than the Eddie win. Just again, circumstantial wise, it's better. The Stipe win's definitely better. So it's tough. It's very mixed. No one has a stellar 10 out of 10 lighter weight class win and upper weight class win. It doesn't. I can't really look at anyone here and say that. There's a case for anyone here, honestly, in my opinion, or not really anyone, but there's a case for Alex as well. I genuinely think there's a solid case for DC based on the Stipe win, because I think that's a really impressive win. But let me know in the comments, what do you guys think? Put your ranking down below from 1 to 10 in terms of purely not their GOAT status or overall resume, just the 2 title wins that they had to win each belt. Nothing else. So yeah, subscribe, like, all that shit, and hope you enjoyed. And yeah, goodbye.